Alright, now we are in Unity and let's navigate through the UI and explain some important sections. You can access to all chapters and the other parts from the playlist here, and also the link is in the description. At the top here we have some menus that some of them are common in many software, for example file edit and window help, and these four menus. The other menus, assets, game object, component, services, are new and available in Unity. First, let's start with a file. We have new scene and open scene here. Every environment in Unity is defined as scenes. We can create a game with just one scene or a lot of scenes. Here we can create a new scene, open a existing scene, and also we can save as scene. Also here we can open a project or save a project to save the imported resources, and also here we can add a new project. And here we can exit the Unity. In the edit menu we can access to the undo redo, Control Z and Control Y, which we can redo the history or undo the history, select the elements and the objects in the scene. I will explain about the scene and the objects inside it. Copy, paste, cut, duplicate, rename, delete, and many other features that I'll explain later. I can't explain one by one now because they are related to the 3D view and I need to explain the 3D view first. The next menu is assets. Assets mean all the resources that is compatible and usable in Unity, such as audios, 3D models, textures, codes, and so on. Here in the create menu we can create any asset we want. For example, we can create a subfolder in Unity. I'll explain about it. Material, which is the coloring features for the 3D objects, a code, a script, animation, audio, and rendering stuffs, and so on. I will explain it in detail. Also, we have some operations, for example refresh, import assets, and so on, that are related to the assets stuff. The next thing is game object and component. First, let's explain about these two features. What is the game object and what is the component? I will upload every chapter of the course every week, so make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification to know about the new chapters and new tutorials. Here we have a 3D scene. Every entity in this scene is a game object. For example, a camera, a ground, a 3D model, everything we imagine is a game object in the Unity. Outside the 3D scene, that's not a game object. We call it game object just in 3D scene, 3D view. Anyway, everything can place in 3D view, the 3D scene is a game object. So what is a component? Actually, components are scripts or codes that we write or Unity created earlier, and we can attach infinite number of components to a game object to add features to that game object. For example, we have a character which it doesn't have any weapon on its hand. So we add a weapon component, and now the character has a weapon, and then we add another component to fight against enemies. So our character has a weapon and also has the combat and fighting ability. We can add extra features, for example flying component to add a Superman-like ability. These components find features and abilities for the game object. We can say anything in the scene is a game object, and the game object, and we can add a lot of attributes to the game object using the components. We have many types of components in Unity. Every component is a predefined by Unity itself. You can add a lot of custom components easily, which every component is a C# script that I will explain about it, deep dive into the C#. We have services here. We can get help and support from Unity. I'll ignore some menus that are not so important as much as the others. In the window, we can access and manage the sections provided in Unity. For example, we can access the general window, rendering window, animation, and so on. For instance, we have a 3D view and also we have a game view. We can access both of them here in the general scene game. Right, now the main part is this 3D view. This is the main 3D view of the Unity, and also if you choose a 2D project, you will face with a 2D view. And here in this panel, you can access the game view. A camera in the scene represents the game view and the player view, and specify which type of camera used in your game. For example, FPS or first-person shooter, first-person character, third-person character, isometric camera, top-down view, which is very useful for strategy games, 2D view, and so on. Here, hierarchy section, we have a list of game objects in the scene. As you can see, this is the main and root scene, and here we have a camera game object in the scene, and as you can see, this is the camera logo, sunlight, and also the sky and fog volume, which specifies the attribute of the lighting, the atmosphere, adding fog and mist, and so on. And this is here. In the 3D view, we can rotate the camera by holding the right click, and here we can rotate the camera and see the environment easily. Also, while you're holding the right click, you can navigate and move using the WSAD. Easily you can move like a video game. Also, you can hold the shift key to increase the speed. If you're lost in environment, just like me here, you can click on one of the game objects here, for example camera, and press the F key to focus on it, and in this way you don't get lost anymore. Alright, you can zoom in and zoom out using your scroll and also Alt and right click, and here you can zoom in and zoom out easily. In the right side we have the inspector, and you can easily access to the attributes and components of every game object in the scene. For instance, if you select one of these game objects or select in the 3D view like this game object, you can access to all attributes and components. I will explain it in detail in the next chapter, and I can say this is the most important part that you see in the game development process, and you work with it. The next part and the next important part and window is the project window, where your files and assets and scripts placed. Here we have a vertical view of your folders and assets, and this is the horizontal view and with big icons. Here we have two folders, a Unity scene. The Unity scenes are look like this. An object, I will explain about objects, and you can add many other files and folders. You need to right click on the empty view, and here we have many options. For example, show in Explorer will open this folder, this environment, and the full overview of your operating system, no matter it's Windows, Mac, or Linux. For instance, right click on this and show in Explorer. And here we have the folder view. You can open an asset. For example, if you have a C# script, you can right click on it and open it. You can copy the path of the asset, import assets, for instance 3D models, textures, audios, and so on. I'll explain about packages in Unity later. You can refresh your assets or re-import if, for instance, you've applied some changes to a specific asset and you can re-import it or re-import all the assets. Right click on it and re-import it, or re-import all to re-import all these assets. You can open the selected C# script and so on. Here in the create menu, I can create a folder material for the colors of the objects, 3D objects, a C# script which is named mono behavior script, and you can add many assets here. I can't explain all of them in this video because some of them are not so important as the others, and also I will explain the important ones want to work in the other videos in the future video. But let's start with the folder here. For example, I'll name it scripts. And here I can add my scripts and create my C# scripts in this folder. And you need to organize your project. You don't have to name your folders based on the Unity recommendation. All the name you will put on your folders are arbitrary and custom, and you can organize your files freely. For the last part, I need to say that you have a sign in icon here. You can sign in to your Unity account. I didn't sign in already because when you open the Unity Hub and open your project, and if you don't access to the internet connection, it won't recognize your token and your connection, and a sign in icon appears here. But if you had a connection, internet connection, and also logged in your Unity account, here in user icon will appear. Here we can access the asset store, Unity asset store. You can access to many free and premium assets provided by Unity. You can access the asset store web. It will be redirected you to the Unity asset store, and you can see the list of your current assets. Also here you have the Unity version control. As I said in the previous chapter, you can upload your project on the Unity cloud, and every change you will make on your project will apply on the main project on the cloud as well, and you can get access to the new updates in another computer, or for instance, your teammates can access to the latest updates you make on your project. Here you can search for the menus and some assets you want to find, and here is the layout. You can change the layout and the UI of the Unity. For instance, you can select 2x3, and here this is the layout for a split default. This is the default view I use, tall, wide, and also you can save your desired layout and load the layout later, or delete your layout. For instance, I will drag this inspector easily here, and I will save this structure, or you can place it here, everywhere you want. In the future chapters, I will explain about the console. Console is important, very important, but I didn't want to explain it in this chapter. Actually, it's not related to this chapter. In the next part, I will explain about the components and game objects in detail.